We will now call the meeting of the Fayette County School Corporation Board of School Trustees to order. We are at the Administration Building. It is Tuesday, February 12th, and it is 6:30 p.m. And I welcome everybody, and let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to begin tonight where I will seek a motion to approve the agenda as submitted and amended.
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any patron comments on agenda items? Seeing none, or not seeing Cindy, I'm going to guess they would have been at my place. We will now move on to the consent agenda. The approval of minutes from regular business meeting of 1/15/19, the personnel report, retirements, resignations, leaves of absences, etc. The approval of the January 2019 claims number 52281 through 52433. Annual list of outstanding checks more than 2 years old. The appointment of the Fayette County Foundation Board, and a donation of $500 from the United Health Group for Connersville High School. Seeing the consent agenda, do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Andy, thank you. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now move on to the action items. We'll begin with the personnel report. Mr. Serqua.
Thank you. Recommendations for employment of classified staff: Brianna Lewis, Special Education Assistant at Grandview; Jalen Thomas, Co-op Intern Custodian at Frazee, extracurricular assignments; Jeremy Horn, JV Baseball Coach; and Eric Myers, Assistant Varsity Baseball Coach.
Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the personnel report.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now move on to the recommendation for bus purchase. Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. I have Daryl Drew here, our Director of Transportation, and he's going to briefly share some information about our recommendation for bus purchases for 2019. So thank you, Daryl.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. We're going to go out and look at the Thomas's buses again. That's what we purchased last year. I'd like to stay on the same track so we're not bouncing back and holding parts from one bus and another bus and taking all the room. And we've had good luck with the Thomas buses so far. So we have had no issues with them that we're aware of. So this is the recommendation I'd like to have, is these Thomas buses. 466 passenger buses and one with the Commissioner lift in it.
These are the ones that are the snub nose ones, right?
No, that was the big ones.
Okay.
These will be the more.
No, these are a little bit more of the boxier
Yeah.
shape.
Oh.
What you're saying, is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, they have 18 on the numbers on them, 1801, 1802. We bought 7 of those, no, 5 of those last year, and then we purchased.
It's not the one like the Spartan Express.
Few
Okay.
numbers on the seats.
That's what
Yeah.
she's thinking about.
They're just a little different body style.
They were a little roomier, as I recall.
They are.
Yeah.
They're a little nicer. A little
That's
bigger.
right.
Makes it easier on field trips.
You rode one on a field trip.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to entertain a motion for a recommendation for the bus purchase.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Andy. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ann. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion
Thanks,
carries. Thank you, Daryl. Yeah.
One thing though, if you know, the activity buses, I've driven it to a couple of board meetings, regional meetings. We are getting pricing from Thomas for additional, and we do need one more. We are using those a lot. And we're getting a quote as well from International. Those are the buses we've had, the International ones. We just want to compare the differences in the two. So that's a project that Bill's working on this month, and we may have a recommendation for a purchase of one of those for the March meeting. So just want to give you a heads up that we may have one more bus we do purchase out of the bus
Real quick shout out to Daryl.
Yes.
Good job with the transportation, with the
Thank you.
flooding and the snow and the
Grand Avenue.
the below zero and the Grand Avenue change.
That's
Let's see, the
coming.
list is long. It's been a tough, you
We've had a
know.
lot of people help out, so it's been good.
Are you sure you wanted this job, Daryl?
Yeah, it's getting better.
Okay, let me think about it.
Yeah, really.
Scott, what are we using those small buses for mostly?
Oh, we're using them, I mean, we use them for transporting kids during the day to the, the different job-based, things there. We use them for extracurriculars, we use them for groups, activities to go, competition, academic teams, you name it, they are used. Daryl could give you an overview of how often they're used, but
We have 2 of those right now.
no.
We have 3.5.
3.5.
With the vocational school, WCC. They're using them with a lot of cheerleaders are taking them, the freshman basketball teams are taking them. We're pushing them more with the numbers under 14, that they're using them a lot more, so we're sending out 2-3 per day, which saves a lot of money,
Yeah.
So, but they are getting more and more used, the athletic directors are pushing them more, so we're gonna run, we've got a few days coming up, we've already ran out and don't have one.
What's the cost differential between sending out the smaller bus and the big one?
Well, you're not paying a bus driver, first off, you're paying that coach to drive
Okay.
that bus, so they drive them, and, we make sure they're trained and know what's going on with them, so they drive them, so we're not paying that right off the bat, so that's a $1,250 savings right there per hour,
Wow.
Plus benefits.
Plus set time, so, I mean, if somebody's gone, 5-6 hours, you're saving $120.
And cost, and fuel efficiency has to be a whole lot better.
It is, yeah.
Cool.
We'll go to most events now at the high schools with smaller teams or even bigger teams, and you'll see a parking lot full of those activity buses nowadays. You'll see them, most school districts are using them pretty regularly, so.
For the girls' swim team, we just took 2 small buses because we had to leave early. I mean, that's when we're using them a lot too, when we gotta get out early, we can't get regular drivers out. So we just took 2 white buses and got them there. So
It's better than waiting.
it is, yeah, and you get there on time, you're not stressed, and, so.
They're slightly more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's more comfortable sitting on a Spartan Express than somebody driving.
No, no, the Spartan Express couldn't make it to every event.
We sure try 'em.
I know,
So.
it's great.
It's a highly requested bus, the Spartan Express.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
And you're spreading it around, which is really great.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the approval of the Education Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. President. And in your packets, you have a memo for me. This is a yearly process, and it's outlined in Board Policy 3.51. And it states that the board will establish a committee of 5 people, and the superintendent will make appointments to the committee as deemed necessary. I am asking that you affirm my appointment of Board Member Mark Beard for a 2-year term, parent Jacob Gross, patron Gertrude Whitaker, and teacher Sharon Reese will complete their 2-year terms this year, and they will join me on this committee as we select nominees for this recognition this year. So I submit that to you for your approval.
Thank you. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the Education Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Thank you, Lori. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I'll cite you, Chris. And any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising their hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Permission to advertise for the CHS office project. Ms. Kelton-Tollett, yeah.
Yeah.
Directed to
Thank you,
you.
Mrs. Jacobs. As you recall, when we talked about the security issues at the high school, we talked about a gate at the front, the field house to help enclose that, and then an additional phase of the administrative offices for the high school being a part of that, so that the individuals presenting to the building will have a more defined entry to the high school. Mr. Shipp from Fanning and Howie is here again this evening to talk about that. We're ready to proceed with this next phase of the project, and we're asking your permission to advertise for parts of this project. 2 parts of it were included as bid alternates with the field house, the roofing and the structural components to provide a better continuity from one building to the other. In addition to that, with the roofing, I think Mike would explain to you, or can, that you really don't want one roofer on the field house with a warranty and another roofer on the office with a different warranty. Plus, this could help us limit the number of contractors that are on site. So we do have those alternates that would be a separate part. That would be the office part of the project, but we're bid with the field house. In addition to that, I want to talk about, when we talked about this before, we talked about there would be some monies remaining from the bond issue that we did. And at that time, we still had a lot of projects pending. Right now, we have about $400,000 in bond proceeds, plus the money that we received from the sale of Orange property, some money that came back to us once bonds were paid off. We received an incentive from Duke for some energy efficiency that's in there. So on hand, we already have about $400,000 to contribute towards that project. So I'll turn it over to Mike to get into the devilish details.
Can you see that?
Mess this up again. I think you've all seen this title slide before, so let's get started. So the areas that we're specifically referencing is the north gate, as you can see up there, it's circled there, as well as the blue area, as we're calling the admin center. These are projects that we talked about previously, and to coordinate with the 2019 work, and then the intent was they all wrap up at the same time, so that's our goal there. So let me just zoom in. I'm actually standing in the courtyard, and this is what you would see looking towards the north end of the gate. So what you see is several what we call single man or single person doors. There you see 5 on the right and 3 on the left, and then you see a double gate in the center. That would be for vehicles or emergency vehicles or an ambulance or some other thing that would have to come into the courtyard. Believe it or not, that's happened before. I would envision, like when school lets out, that they open the center gate and everybody just proceeds through that are navigating the courtyard and out. But during times of when we're trying to keep everything secured, with those single man doors on the left and right of the double gate in the middle actually have panic hardware on them, because it's required by code, because the courtyard is treated like an enclosed space. So we go to the next image here, you begin to see.
Are they automatic?
They are not automatic.
Okay.
So
They have to be hand opened by
they have to.
somebody.
They have like a panic bar, push bar.
Okay.
So
That you can regulate it from the office.
So this is just an example of some other images that we've done. And on the right, you'll see a similar look and appearance. On the left is actually the floor plan. You can see the big gate in the middle that would accommodate a vehicle, and the individual passenger doors or passenger person doors. Now the ones in the middle don't actually count towards our exiting, even though they're big, but they don't have that panic device. So that's, it's one of the nuances of the code. The other thing you see on the right, you see on the lower right, you actually see a cover over what we call the decorative fencing. And that is prevent somebody from reaching in and around and releasing that panic device so they can actually get in the secure corridor. These are the things we have to deal with in today's climate. So that's.
So it would just be a clear piece.
Yeah. And plexiglass, so it's heavy duty, and so.
And our understanding is that these will be opened in the morning. Buses would still come through that circular drive, but then during the daytime, no, buses won't.
The plan's that Randy's here, but the plan is we're gonna bring the buses in and the kids will funnel in at the new main entrance.
The new main entrance.
Yeah, so we can
Okay.
really secure
Okay.
the passage of all kids coming into
Okay.
the building each day too. Is that correct, Mr. Judd? That's still the plan?
All righty.
That's what we had planned.
Would that large gate accommodate a fire truck?
That, I would say the answer is yes, going at a monitored speed, but I would think that they would not pull that truck into the courtyard, only because all of a sudden that's a piece of equipment that's, from the standpoint of asset, they would rather pull hoses into it, and we have, so we don't, if I recall, there's no actually fire hydrants inside the courtyard. They're all around the perimeter, so they're pretty particular about how close they park to a structure. So as we kind of zoom in here, you've seen this image before, and we're going to zoom in on the admin center here in just a moment. But you know, just from a budgetary standpoint, we got about 1,900, essentially 2,000 square feet there, just round up, and if we put a unit cost on it, $225 a square foot, we're looking at just over $400,000, $439,000. Now, I want to be hopeful that since we're only building one exterior wall, we already have three, that the price is going to come down. But at this point in time, based on the market and the inflation that's occurred over the past year, honestly, we should all be grateful that we bid the Student Activity Center when we did, because we've seen about a 6% cost of inflation this past year on construction costs. And there was a lot of uncertainty still with regards to steel and tariffs, and we hear that all the time. So I want to believe that we have a safe margin in there, but we shall see. And I think we'll be okay. I really do. So okay, let's again. I know one of the past comments before was when we have the opportunity to take another look at this, and here's the look. So the idea behind this reception area, we have several control points as you come in from the main entrance to the left. We have a secured vestibule. There's opportunities that could be a ticket window. When we have a ticket window in the athletic director's office there, that could stop people from coming into the school building at certain times of the year during sectionals or high volume. That person could then proceed into the next layer out in front of the reception area. And keep in mind, we got doors to the Student Activity Center as well as to the north, prevented from going in the original high school, the Waterloo and Jackson area. So with regards to the reception, the run numbers indicate potential staffing in those positions. The goal is to bring the high school leadership team out to meet the public, meet the students. So we'd have potentially 2 people accommodate the reception area, as well as 5 or 6 visitors could easily be accomplishing loose furnishing around in that reception area. Then we have an attendance window to the north, so that helps minimize the amount of traffic that actually has to come into the door or into the reception area proper. We have a conference room. Then as we go from left to right, we have a workroom with a potential future connection piece. We're putting the door in where you see the arrow and it says future connection, but there's still some navigation that would have to occur down the road, but we'll get the framework in place for that work to occur down in the future. Then we have an office. I've signed a principal's office. The proportions of the image looks a little bit odd just because it's projected, but those are nice size offices, and will accommodate a workstation and a small conference table for 3 or 4 people. And then you see the offices to the bottom, adjacent to the Student Activity Center. And then we found some additional niches for storage that we can use off the Student Activity Center, as well as a potential training area that we have this great new facility. We need to make sure we accommodate some of the needs there. So that's where we're at. It's been designed. We're ready to coordinate releasing it and timing that with some of the other things that are out there in the market as well. So that's and we're looking to come back and probably have some recommendation for acceptance in let me get my bearings straight, in April, and then start right away and finish in December like the Student Activity Center.
So getting back to what Jane asked, this will be all one roof?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So currently, the blue area to the right, the big blue area, that currently roofs sitting there as an alternative price. So instead of having 2 warranties, it gets worse than that. You might have 2 different manufacturers if we competitively bid that. And that would be just another challenge for Brian and his team with regards to that. So you want continuity and consistency. And the good news is, we have that price, and it turns out to be about $17.50 a square foot. And that's a good value for that roof we see. And we got a discount by volume. If we were to bid this individually, it probably would be probably $22 to $25 a square foot in this package. And as well as we got, here's another example. We had the steel put in this and as an alternate as well for consideration. For somebody to rent another crane, you can't just borrow a crane on site. That's not how these contractors work. As much as I want to believe that they could share those types of items, liability, the steel guy, the precaster, and that was at Batesville, the precaster, the steel, and the roofer all had individual cranes, and I found that to be absurd. But I'm not the one that's scheduling that work. Probably best that I don't do that. Probably a conflict of interest, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so that's where we're sitting. So now you understand why we did some of those things to save some additional cost, at least in our thoughts, and I'm confident that we did that.
And I appreciate their foresight. They've been very strategic in trying to help us save the most money we can to get a good product. And the original goal was what? In this project, it was to enclose that courtyard and secure that campus, which has been a big concern. So we're going to accomplish that with these last 2 pieces that we're presenting to you tonight, and really provide some good space. Yeah,
Jenny,
that's a very shrunken version too.
Yeah,
It's really wide. That looks,
Yeah, I know.
but yeah, anyway.
Katie, did I hear you say that, I saw the price of that, did I hear in your figures and that basically speaking, we had almost enough money to pay for that outright?
Yeah. I mean, if Mike's numbers are exactly right on, we'd have to come up with about $39,000. And we would have that already appropriated for capital items within the rainy day fund.
Okay.
So, yeah, but we had talked before that we didn't do water out to Fayette Central. We're still trying to get the well dug, but the weather over the last year has been a little uncooperative to get that done. And in addition to that, because we're a school, we had to wait for IDEM to go through all of their various layers to get that approved. That was a big part of the holdup. And then we were into fall, school was started, it rains, it snows. So I still have that money encumbered that we set aside for that project. And it's reduced, the 400,000 that I think we have is after taking that into consideration.
Okay.
So.
And, I know it's true with many projects that things happen to go over budget. Your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, I think the key here is, I recently had a project bid about $270 a square foot for an admin center, but it's a freestanding building. It was just residential construction, wood and brick. Here we already have 3 of the sides. We're only building one side of this. So I'm hopeful that we're going to have good results and you can use some of those dollars elsewhere.
Well, the roof and the structure components have already been bid.
Yeah.
Only 117,000. So that's still quite a bit
Yeah,
left
quite a bit.
to finish
And that's
it out.
included in this estimate for all
Yes.
those components.
That is
So
correct.
We could come in
Correct.
under this,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you. And it will be done when?
The plan is, should be done in December at the end of this year.
They're
How's that?
waiting to break ground. It's just frozen ground. and dry ground.
How's
Breaking ground, it might be just moving ground.
how's it working for the teachers, Randy, with the parking, with it being kind of blocked off? They're still He's hiding back there, I can't even see him.
It's part of our wellness initiative.
Get people to walk more, there you go.
They're going to be all right.
Thank you.
They're learning to be flexible, and this week is much better than last.
Yeah,
One of the,
a big space.
it looks like it's slow going, but the key is, until that metal building arrives on site, that is when activities
Gonna
will
get-
occur. So that's
yeah, flurry.
mid-April. So the key is, they gotta have that they can't do anything until they gotta have that foundation in. So once that metal building arrives, then you'll see a lot of transformation over the summer. So,
Yeah.
but it's coming mid-April, so they gotta be ready for it, or else.
Yeah, Mother Nature needs to pass a resolution that she's gonna cooperate and make it all work for us.
Real quick, Mike, the 225, that's estimated, that's pretty much finished, carpet, paint.
Yes, that's,
trim.
yeah,
Okay.
that's finished.
Okay.
Mike, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your support. He's been a great
Yes.
partner,
Yes.
really very.
Appreciate him coming and checking it out. Yeah, that's even brighter with the, yeah.
There, that's
Whoa. Okay. I would now like to seek a motion for permission to advertise for the CHS office project.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mark. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ann. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move on to the approval of the revised 2018-2019 school calendar. Mr. Collins.
And I really didn't want to do this. I want that on the record. Mother Nature has not cooperated and we're not done, but we think we created a schedule, a calendar that we can revise and hopefully not have to move graduation and impact the month of June. So before you, there are a couple of changes. One is more time sensitive in regards to the February 18th in-service day. We have made arrangements with the administrators on making that time up outside of the school day. So our administrator has been great in working with their teams on doing that. The other change, a little more significant, is making Good Friday a school day. And I know that provides some conflict for some, and so we'll certainly work with families if they had prior commitments to a service or something like that, working with their individual schools. What that does then is that allows us to make up 2 of the days we've missed. We've missed 6 days total, and we have to make up all 6 of those days. We also had a makeup day built into the calendar on May 6th. We are using that. Students will be in attendance. And then we are also deviating from the original plan with students being done on the 23rd of May. So students will attend on the 24th, the 28th, and the 29th. So that captures our 6 days. And we're hoping we don't have any more, but that does give us a little breathing room there if we have to add more the week of Memorial Day on Thursday or Friday. So that's the change, and I think it's about the best we could do. I looked at a lot of school district calendars, and Good Friday is not a holiday typically used by a lot of districts nowadays, and our area districts are using it as a makeup day as well. So I think it's not the most desirable. I think it's the best option we had for this year. So those are the changes, and we really need to just approve the 2 changes with using those previous no student days, February 18th and April 19th. So that's here for your approval, discussion.
So it's mainly, we're also we're just changing the calendar. We're approving the calendar.
You are
which has
approving the
those
calendar, but those were
extra
the
days
2
at the
most
end.
time-sensitive
Right.
changes. We may have to add more days at the end, but we won't have to seek that approval from you again. That's just
Oh, okay.
one of those things that days will be made up at the end from this
Okay.
point forward.
Because we had that built into the calendar to
Yeah.
begin with.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to seek a motion to approve the revised 2018-2019 school calendar.
I so move.
Thank you, Ann. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Lori. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move on to permission to advertise for summer projects. Ms. Callan Pollitt.
Thank you again, Mrs. Jacobs. We are asking permission to advertise for the capital projects. It's a shorter list this year. We have a couple of roofing projects, Fayette Central Gym, Eastview Gym, and Main Wing. We're gonna ask for Eastview for pricing for the gym and for the main wing so that we can decide how far we can go with that. We need to replace another smaller chiller unit at Fayette Central. Our boiler replacement this year is pretty much limited to 4 smaller boilers that we have at the Career Center. We're starting to have some pretty regular trouble with those boilers. We're gonna ask for proposals for electrical upgrade at the Career Center and water main replacement at Eastview and Frazee separately because Brian anticipates we can probably only afford one of them this year. We need some land improvements around the soccer and softball area. Right now we've been using a gravelled drive through there, and we really need to get some paving or concrete in that area so that we can set some portable bleachers for those events to be shared. We have other projects outside of this. A main one we have is part of the auditorium ceiling at Connersville Middle School needs to be replaced. And we've already received competitive quotes for that, so we'll include that in for your approval either next month or when we do the approval for these, but we needed to get moving on that. We're hopeful we could do it before now, but that's a 6 to 7 week project, we've been told. They're gonna have to cover the seating, put scaffolding in, so it's really not gonna be conducive. So we didn't wanna re-advertise it when we already had the quotes for that. In addition to that, we've kind of set our standards for the generators at our elementary schools, so we're just gonna competitively quote that instead of taking bids, since we're down to, at elementary's, Fayette Central's our last one, correct, Brian? So we do not need a lot of sealing or paving, so Brian's just gonna work with a couple local vendors, get pricing on that. So that probably will not even rise to the level of requiring board approval. So I wanted to let you know, there are some other things that we're working on, but we're not including those in the bids or the RFPs. Again, for your information, a bid is when Brian writes the specs and we say, here are our specifications. We want you to follow these exactly. And they give us a bid for that. A request for proposal is when we really need some support from the vendor to tell us what we need. So like the electrical upgrades, we have done that where they come in and do an assessment of what we need at that location, and then they present a proposal to us that then fills the needs that we have. So
So it's not based on dollar amount, whether or not they have to submit a bid?
it is, but that dollar amount is very large now when
Right.
the right to work came in. So we choose to bid many more projects than were actually required.
Okay. And also, I'm assuming we're not like losing water. The water main replacement, when you say, well, we may only have money for one. So
Brian's
is it
here, I'll
just
let him
length
talk
of
about
time
that.
that those pipes are?
So, talking about the water main replacement, so at Eastview and Frazee, we have tunnels where all the water mains go that feed the boilers, feed the fountains, the restrooms and everything. There's a lot of valves down there that are needing replaced just with the age. A lot of it is old, the galvanized piping, so that's going to be something that's quite a large project. Like I said, going to get bids on both, with my thinking that we might be able to afford one of those this year. We tried to get bids on it last year, and a couple of contractors came in and took a flashlight and looked and said, we don't want any part of that. So that's what we're battling. So we've made some new partners in the Fieldhouse project with Coke Mechanical, so we're going to have them look at it. So we're going to try to
use some of the folks that we're using for the field house project to give us some ideas and maybe even recommend some other contractors, so. But
You may see at some point, we come back and ask you to move money that was allocated perhaps for boilers or chillers that's not going to be used for that into other projects. We have some casework we're working on at the buildings. Maybe we get really good pricing and we decide we want to do both of these water mains. But if you remember, while they released the handcuffs a little bit on our funding regarding capital projects, anything that's $10,000 or more has to have a hearing, has to be advertised, has to have a hearing on, has to be published on the website. So, if we decide to do that, we'll have to go through those steps to say, okay, we're not gonna do as much chiller work. Now we wanna propose $100,000 towards the water main project. You're not bound by location anymore. We identified locations in our capital projects plan for our benefit and to let the community know where we might be spending those monies. But we can divert them from building to building. But when a whole project changes, and it's $10,000, more than 10,000, we have to come back.
But Mrs. J, answering your question, so we're okay right now. We're trying to be more proactive than reactive. I would rather get it fixed now when we're not having the issues as opposed to having something that goes down and then we're hurting. So just trying to get out in front of a couple things, so.
Sounds good.
Jane or Brian, does that work around the softball, soccer area? Does that give us access for wheelchairs? Or are we gonna have a place where people can get out in that parking lot and go to the concession or
We're
softball
hoping
area?
that whole thing will be paved
Okay.
from
From the, right now, there's
From the
a ramp.
parking
There's
lot.
gravel where I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, it will be there, but it'll also run down by the new softball
good,
field
yeah.
so that bleachers could be set out
Right.
there or individuals
Yeah.
could set out
I
there.
was just thinking about where that gravel is from the parking lot to the,
Yeah.
if we want to take care of that, I think that's important that we do
We
that.
resolved that at the baseball field
Right.
last year with the paving, and so
Right.
that's what we're looking to do here as well. And so with the bleachers that Brent's already purchased, we can stage those for a softball game, and then they're movable, so you can turn those around for a soccer game, and then you have bleachers for both things going
And
on.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Our elderly fans, and we have a lot of them, they want and they deserve that access if we can give it to them.
This should take care of it.
All right. Okay, so I would like to make a motion, or I'd like to request a motion for permission to advertise for the summer projects.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Lori. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now move to a discussion item on the Wellness Initiative. Ms. Corsaro, and
Thank you, President Jacobs and Board. Tonight I have Kelly McCollum, and she is going to come and present some of the wellness initiatives that we have here in Fayette County, and I believe last year she made a stance, so I'm not sure what she has
Oh, no.
planned for us this year, so be prepared.
I really thought about it, but since I'm on the other side now, I don't have a Gleneagles account anymore, so. Lucky us. But I will ask you to stand up and stretch for a minute. We've been sitting for a while, so everybody can stand. I've been reading this book called Desk Bound, Standing Up to a Sitting World, and the main quote is, "Sitting is the new smoking," and I believe it after sitting a lot in this new position. So one more stretch and you're welcome to sit back down. Since I was up here last year, we have so many more exciting, new, healthy things going on within the corporation and our community. Our wellness committee still meets once a month, and we've had some pretty neat discussions this year focusing more on mental health and stress relief. And in your packet is one of the calendars that went out to staff, just different activities that people can do during the day. We also are doing an initiative called Model the Bottle to promote more water drinking. Teachers were all given a water bottle to keep with them on their desks. Students are encouraged to drink water throughout the day. Teachers were tweeting pictures of themselves with their water, and students were in the pictures, so it was kind of going viral for a little bit. Staff has participated in a lot of virtual races and other races where they've actually gone to the site. In the fall semester alone, over 233 miles of running or walking were done by staff members who were reimbursed for those races. That's one of the initiatives. We have marathon runners, ultra-marathon runners, lots of healthy things going on. We've done a Biggest Loser challenge on the Head Start side, and over 100 pounds were lost first semester between Head Start staff members. Wellness Wednesdays at Maplewood. Tara Henry from HealthWorks comes to Maplewood and puts on a fitness class every Wednesday. Chartwells has done some nutrition cooking demos. We did one for Head Start families and then also for staff members. Blood pressure checks are going on monthly at all the buildings. Students are still participating in Go Noodle in their classrooms during indoor recess or break breaks. And our murals happen after school at the elementary level. Head Start is doing a 1K walk with family and kids later this spring. Last year at this time, we were talking about that first cross-country race that was going to happen. And it did happen. We had over 150 kids in 4th through 6th grade run. In the summer, we did a track series and had 60 kids every Thursday night participate throughout June and July. And this past fall, we had our first grass cross-country race and had over 300 kids at Roberts Park, grades K through 6. In December, we had 4 of our Fayette County kids go to Reno to compete in the USATF National Championships. And then we had 3 other qualifiers that weren't able to make the trip. We hope to have a whole team go next year. In the back of your packet, you have a survey. Our wellness committee just kind of needed a direction to go this semester, and so I sent out a survey and found some interesting results. We have a lot of struggle with fitting in exercise, so that's something as a committee that we're going to look at some different options for staff members to get their exercise in. I've been trying out a couple different free apps to see if it's something that people could use on their own time, short 10 to 20 minute little exercises. So that's something we'll talk about later in our wellness committee.
It's hard to tell on these, but if you saw Scott's Friday, I think it was the Friday letter that had the color of the survey, because you can't see what these.
Right, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, but that was, survey was pretty telling.
Yeah,
Like,
the website.
So did anybody write any comments on the survey, like what they wanted or what?
There wasn't an option to. I did
Okay.
it through Google Drive.
Okay.
So there wasn't an option to, but the exercise and fitness options expressed the most interest in the area of most struggle,
Okay.
along with kind of 43% of people admitted to getting no exercise. I think it was about 29% that exercise 1 to 2 times a week. We all know that those happy endorphins will make us more productive, so I think if we can really push that, we'll be making progress. So.
Maybe as we look at new office equipment for the high school or wherever, we could get those desks that,
The walking
Give you
desk
the
or the
option of,
standing desk.
you know, compare prices, and I sure wish I would have had one. I operated off of a 1.5 by 2 foot podium for 35 years.
I turned
That'd be
my-
nice if, yeah.
An old projector stand, you know, the projectors, I turned it into a walking desk, so you might see me at the resource center walking around with my laptop, but.
I did think it was interesting that the beverage of choice really is water,
It is.
which was I was surprised to see that. And that soda was the least, I believe.
Yes.
I can't tell on this color, but I remember.
Tea was.
Tea was the least,
Soda, I
okay.
think, was about 23%, which we
Okay.
still have
but
work to do in.
Yeah,
in
we
soda.
do still have work to do.
I'm not looking at your Diet Coke or your Diet Mountain Dew.
No judge.
No shame.
No judge.
So we really do have an invested wellness committee. They just really do come every month with ideas, and they take back to their school and truly care about their health and everyone else around them. And it's really neat for me to be in this new position and kind of working with a different population and think starting from the bottom will hopefully make improvements. Our county is ranked number 92 out of 92 in poor health. So I see hope. There are healthy things going on all around us. And we just have to celebrate those and share those with people, and I think it catches on. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, at this point, I don't know why Larry's name is there. Public comments, persons wishing to make the board aware of suggestions, ideas, and/or comments may address the board at this time. Comments which involve personnel or students must be discussed in private. Seeing none, move on to the superintendent discussion groups report. And I think that one thing that would fit in there is, I know that we're in the middle of, everybody knows we're in the middle of the legislative session. You should be getting your weekly updates from Terry Spradlin. And occasionally there's a call to action. I know one time Mark sent an email around that he had made some phone calls and encouraged us to do that. So just pay attention to those when those come out. Seeing no others, principal or director's reports. Director of Human Resources.
Just a couple things. First of all, Leslie, thank you for the legislative breakfast.
Yes.
I thought that went really well, and it was very well put together. I appreciate that. Also, I want to thank Brian, because with my cane now, it's very important that I have clean driveways and walkways, and the maintenance staff has done an outstanding job all around the campus, and we appreciate that. So.
All right, Director of Finance report.
Just a couple things. Thank you for supporting our capital projects that we're moving. It's hard to talk about summer when it's so cold outside, but
It's good to talk
we'll
about.
appreciate it when it gets here. Yeah, the other thing is I want to share that we are now accepting online credit card payments for textbook rental and student fees. And that project could not have been done without Terry. He did an outstanding job working with RICOR, getting it up and running, and so he deserves all the credit on that. One last item I want to share. I want to acknowledge our community support for our students with delinquent accounts. But I'd be remiss if I did not share with the board, that amount has climbed to $15,000 district-wide. So I'm working with food service to get some letters sent out, some people turned over to collection. You know, I just don't understand how this is not neglect of a dependent when these parents don't put money on their students' account. And we don't turn anybody away. We give them a lunch. It may be an alternate lunch of a sandwich, peanut butter, or, you know, we even give them choice now. So there's no shaming involved with it. But that's a lot of money. And so Rachel and I are working on that. I'm also working on some ideas that I may share with the board on. We cannot use food service money to pay off those student balances. Because we receive money through the federal government for National School Lunch Program, it is considered a federal program. But we might have some other opportunities on helping to pay that down. And I don't want to diminish the value of what the community has done, because it is so appreciated. But we still have a tough road to hoe. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Assistant Superintendent report. Kim.
I'm going to pass, thank you.
Okay, Superintendent's report. Scott.
I always have something. I want to first thank our bus drivers. We send them out some days where, you know, we're very conscientious of the roads, but, you know, still maneuvering a bus when there's some fog or there's still some ice or snow out there, because it's hard to get all that off and you can't just keep kids out indefinitely. But I appreciate Daryl and all the support he's provided, and also our city and county highway departments. I think one thing bringing Daryl on board is he's had some really great connections and relationships there. And when we had the flooding, we had the county highway department texting him roads that were problems. So we had lifetime information. And so I just want to acknowledge our county and city. That was really appreciated. Also, Maggie Ross, if you'll look around, we have pictures posted. Maggie's an art teacher here for us at Eastview and Maplewood, and there was a nice presentation of this at the downtown for a period of time, and so I contacted her and I said, I'd love to put these on display in the boardroom. And these are pictures, I believe, that are still for sale. There was one of Spartan Bowl that I think was in the pic. Did you get that, Mark? It's great. So,
And you wouldn't bring it in on loan?
It was a gift for me.
Oh.
It was for Christmas.
That's
Beautiful
so
like
cool.
these. It's
I know.
very beautiful.
so Maggie is going to be selling prints of these as well, but she has a poem with each one, and such a talented person. So these are on display if you would take time to look at those after the meeting, or they'll be up for a while. But I just want to, all of these capture some part of our schools, and it's just really neat. So I commend her and her talent for that, and wanted to recognize that. For our breakfast, thanks Leslie for working with our legislators. And also I want to say thanks to Cindy for taking care of the breakfast and the setup, the Career Center for their help, Steve Duggan and his crew, and then Brad Wilson donated money to cover breakfast costs. Leslie brought in some of her amazing cheese from her business, but Brad provided a donation to help cover the cost, so I wanted to thank Brad and Wilson Lawson Myers. Then Kelly, I want to thank you for your leadership with the wellness. I know I'm not a good model of that all the time. Don't put that in the paper, Bob. But you know, she's there in the background. I'm feeling guilty. I go to the grocery and I want to take a picture of good stuff in my cart and just send it to her, because I think, oh, Kelly might see me and do a donut in my cart or something.
He's looking, Mr. Small sent me a picture of Caleb.
Did he? Okay. So, but I appreciate that, because we all need to model that for our students as well. In a county where we get a lot of negatives on our wellness, you know, I think we as educators should be the role models. The superintendent needs to be a better role model. So I want to commend you for your passion for that, because I'm not as passionate about it. So, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, for the good of the cause?
I'd like to recognize the kids that come and help with the Gleaners distribution.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of students the last few times.
Yeah, we've hardly had to work.
Makes a makes a big difference. And I commend Cindy for kind of having that organized real well
Yeah.
for us every time we do that. Do a great job.
I'd like to recognize our board member, Andy Aryan, who was the Citizen of the Year this year from the Chamber of Commerce. Yay, Andy. It's always great to see our own, one of our own as the community. I also wanted to comment, I mean, Maggie Ross isn't just an artist in her own standing in doing this, but I know she did something, I don't know if it was last year at Maplewood, and all the kids colored stones out in front. She's very creative, and I think she had a dress made out of all the kids' drawings that she made, I'm sure. She's tremendously talented and a real asset to our community. I also wanted to commend the girls' swim team. They just finished up their sectional a couple weeks ago, and tremendous time drops. That was really fun to watch. I had some people that were posting videos, so I got to see that. And I wanted to thank all the people that were involved with the legislative breakfast. It wasn't just me, and am very grateful for all the people that showed up. We had, I don't know, 40 plus, mostly school personnel, and they were engaging and passionate and brought up wonderful points. And I received a message today from a community person who was meeting today with Senator Lysing on an issue related to her business, and said that she couldn't quit talking about the legislative breakfast and the impact that people's questions and comments had on her. So that, to me, says a lot.
And students.
Yeah, we did. We had 5 students there, which was really great. And the last thing, I just want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day.
I had a couple things I wanted to share. I want to commend the students who participated in the first annual Spartans Have Talent that was this past Friday, Robert E. Wise Center. There was 10 acts, and they did a great job, so, and they're wanting to make it an annual event, and it's a fundraiser for the drama club, so that was really neat, and I enjoyed seeing that. And also, I wanted to send sympathy to the Russell family for the recent loss of Alan Russell. He was a fixture in the community for so many years. Bus driver for 41 and a half years out in Northwest Fayette County, and just a good guy, friend to everyone, and I'm gonna really miss seeing him. Anyway, his wife Lillian is still driving the bus, so not as long as him, but she is still driving. But anyway, he's definitely gonna be missed.
Thank you, Lauren.
I'd like to just remind everyone that a week from tonight at the Spartan Bowl is the 8th annual Guys versus Gals charity basketball game. The 8th grade girls red team plays the 8th grade boys white team. It's a lot of fun. It is completely free will donation. We have a lot of stuff going on with some special cheerleaders, some special officials, a special scorekeeper who doesn't count well sometimes. But everything is, all the funds donated go to the food banks at the schools. It's a really good way for the kids everybody to get involved with giving back to the community, because I had a student many years ago says, well, I want to come to the game, how much does it cost? I said, well, it doesn't cost you anything. Well, this kid had a quarter and that was about all he had. But he was proud to be part of the whole process. Teachers act a little strange, students really have a good time. It lasts about an hour and a half, starts at 5:30?
5:30 with 4:30 some festivities.
Oh, we're having a 3-point contest again, and we'll have concessions and all kinds of fun stuff in the Spartan Bowl. For those of you that think, oh, I can't go because I want to go to the high school boys game up at Northeastern, it will be over in time. If you're really good, that you can leave the Spartan Bowl and make it up to Fountain City in time for the varsity game. So hope to see lots of people there, because it's a lot of fun. I've been involved with it since its inception, and certainly the need is very, very great this year in Fayette County. And the monies will go directly to the kids at the food banks at CHS and the one at CMS. So it's going to go right back to our students.
Thank you, Ann.
So come on down.
Anything else? Well, at this time, I will request a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mark.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Chris. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
This chair goes
We will